chance to close it out. You don't go to a game seven. You ended at home. You celebrate it with your fans. And if you look at his stat line, I think the only thing he didn't have on his stat line was a steal. He did everything he needed to do, and that's what leaders do. He didn't do a lot of chirping, didn't do a lot of talking. He let his play dictate how that series went, and I'm glad that they did it. I'm super happy for their coach because he was getting dragged at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the playoffs, but everybody was questioning if he should even keep his job if they get knocked out, and he proved them all wrong. And he was humble and put it on his players, and that's what coaches do. So I like the attitude. I like the feeling that I got from seeing that they won the championship, and I hope they can repeat.
Right. Sonny, what was your reaction to Giannis's 50-piece? What did you think about that and his performance?
Wow, that was really impressive. One thing, he just showed so much desire and will, and there was no way that the Suns were going to walk off of the Bucks floor with the championship. Absolutely not. So it was just really impressive how he stepped to the plate. He didn't let all of the detractors affect him. In fact, it kind of pushed him because everybody was talking about how he couldn't shoot and how he couldn't make his free throws, and he had the fans, especially road courts, counting down 10 seconds every time he got to the foul line. But he stepped above that, and he shot 17 out of 19 free throws last night. That was insane for him to do that. Just the mental fortitude was incredible. And, you can compare that to like Ben Simmons, not to pile on Ben Simmons, but, the same situation. He was, told that he couldn't shoot. He was missing free throws, and then it completely affected his game where he didn't want to drive the foul to go to free throw line. Giannis, opposite, he drove to the basket forcefully every time, not afraid to go to the free throw line and not afraid to step up in the moment. So I was super impressed with him.
Yeah, that was an all-time great performance in a closeout game. And honestly, I can't remember myself seeing someone have a closeout game in that fashion. You're on your home court and you played the way you played. And I know a lot of people were expecting the Suns to take it to game 7, which I didn't think the Suns were coming back in the series, especially seeing how they played in game 4 when they should have had game 4, but they let Milwaukee hang around. Giannis played very, very well. Like, I was really impressed with him, just him. And he was very, very, very focused, like you said before, Sonny, and just really into his game and not letting that pressure get to him, because there was a lot of pressure for both teams. And he just had his way with the whole Suns team. Whoever guarded him, he came to play. And I was really more impressed with him at the free throw line, because we've been, like you said before, we've been joking about, everyone's doing the count and just picking at him missing his free throws because he's not a very good free throw shooter. But last night he really proved that he took a huge leap to put his team on his back, that city, and win a championship. So Jeremiah, where does this Milwaukee team go from here? Can they repeat next season?
When it comes to me, they are not going to repeat this next season. Of course, they are a great unit when it comes to their whole team, especially, Giannis stepping up to this year, taking all of that in when it comes to each failure after failure and not running away from that failure, but then improving off of it. And just like how Sonny said, when it came to, there's a difference when it comes to Ben Simmons and Giannis. Giannis, he would actually want to get better. He's not going to run away from his mistakes that he did in the past, and he's going to keep doing it over and over again. I felt like in this series, he took over in a different mindset. From the start of that game 6, he came out, and I knew from the first block, he is definitely locked in. He had himself an amazing game on the boards, on both sides of the court. He was playing defense and his offensive game. Aiden or Crowder, they couldn't do nothing guarding him. And a lot of it, I would say Middleton, he stepped up really big in this series as well too. I felt like he should have probably been Finals MVP after Giannis, but although this game solidified that Giannis, he deserved that MVP right there. But for saying next year, so many teams are about to get better. so many teams are about to be getting a lot of different free agents and everything like that. So when it came to the Milwaukee Bucks and the Suns, I feel like this was their only year right here, because trying to repeat, I mean, there's levels to this. And that's why when it comes to that type of mentality and stuff, I don't think that they can kind of get over that hump, especially for next season when so many teams are about to get better and come back healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm glad you brought that up of everyone is going to be hard, and they had to win it this year. And I think congratulations to Milwaukee, nothing taking away from them. But I just think when it comes to both these teams, the Phoenix Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks, it's going to be hard for them to go back to the finals, because they went through teams who were banged up this year. So a lot of those guys are going to be healthy again. And then you look at the West. You have you never know where Lillard's going to go. We don't know what Chris Paul's going to do after this, and we'll get into him in a minute. Golden State's going to come back healthy. The Lakers are going to come back. Clippers could always hang around, even though Kawhi is going to be injured. And then you have the Denver Nuggets. Just a lot. It's a loaded Western Conference. Then you look at the East. Durant and Harden. They're going to be scoring all they're going to do. They're going to come back. You got the Miami Heat. It's going to be tough to see both these teams back. But back to you, Sonny. I saw a lot of talk today, on the sports talk shows, on Undisputed and stuff. They were saying that is this Giannis's league now after him winning the finals? Is this his league? Is he's the top dog now?
No, no. Like Jeremiah said, I don't think that they're going to repeat. I think that they'll be a really good team because they have the three main players locked up for the next few years, but they're also going to have the problem of keeping those important people because now Bobby Portis, they got to pay him, so he's not going to take that $3 million that he's making this year. He's going to need more money than that. It's just other players, it's so many other players that they've got to build around, so it's going to be difficult for them. The Nets are going to be healthy next year. They are, so they're going to be tough. Miami always gets the right move, so they're going to do something. And in the West, they got so many players coming back from injuries. Teams are going to be much better. So I just don't see the Bucks repeating. They're going to be good, but they won't repeat.
Speaking of the Nets, it took Kevin Durant's shoe. That's how close it was. Like, it was that close for them sending Milwaukee home. But Edward, who do you think is now like the favorites now? Because I saw a statistic today that the Nets are the favorites next year. They already have them as the number one favorites now. So do you agree with that, Edward?
I guess on paper, sure. I mean, you look at their roster. If they're all coming back, you don't know what's going to happen in the draft and who's going to go where. If Lillard decides to go somewhere else, or you don't know. But on paper, sure. I would take any team that had Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden on it. I mean, that's pretty solid. But as far as you named a ton of teams out west, but they all got to fight each other. They're not going to. Milwaukee's not going to have to see any of them until the finals. And if Atlanta was the team that was too young to know better this year. You know what I mean? Maybe they step up and gel a little more, and maybe they give them a test. Brooklyn can be what Brooklyn is, but that's three or two big egos, two weird egos as far as James Harden and Kyrie Irving are. Kevin Durant, I love that guy. I love his attitude. I love the way he plays. I love the way he carries himself. But I don't know if you can depend on Harden and Kyrie like that. Mm-hmm. If they do gel, if they take this entire year, I don't think any of them are playing on the Olympic team. So they take this offseason to kind of gel together and come back and stay healthy. I mean, that's always been believe me, Kyrie's broken foot going and playing for Duke killed me. I mean, that guy's he's got a history of injuries. Mm-hmm. But if they can play and they can play 82 games and get go deep into the playoffs, they look unstoppable. But I like Milwaukee. I like their attitude. I like that they're quiet. I like that they're people are already overlooking them and questioning the validity of their championship and who they had to play and all that. That's the talk that happens afterwards. But keep overlooking them because I think that's something that will drive Giannis and will drive that team. Like keep thinking of us as underdogs, and then when we smack you off our court and we take another title, you'll give us respect next year, and
Right.
maybe and it could. I'd like to see it.
Speaking of that guy, Kevin Durant, there's been talk also today that I've seen that, and I'm gonna start with you, Sonny. Is it true that Kevin Durant's 2 rings is not equivalent to Giannis's 1 that he just won last night? Do you agree with that?
Oh, that's crazy.
That's what I saw.
Oh, no. A ring is a ring, a championship is a championship. And especially Durant, that last championship where he really carried the Warriors to that championship, the way he scored. And if he hadn't been, I know it's saying if he hadn't been hurt, but if he hadn't been hurt, Toronto wouldn't have won either. So no, I there's no way. And then I think also with Giannis in the future, I don't think as he ages, that game is not sustainable. He's gonna. I think that that'd be difficult for him to avoid injury going forward as well. So he's taking a little easy on but I just there's no way that you could compare just one championship to Durant 2 and then the 2 that he's going to have the next couple of years.
Right. I agree. I think for that, when people say that, like when they said that they feel that Giannis's ring last night was bigger than Durant's 2, was that of course Durant went to join Golden State, all that talk, and then Giannis stayed home and he stayed with the team he got drafted by and brung his team a championship without having solidified superstars around him. But let's go to the opposing team, the team that lost, the Phoenix Suns. Jeremiah, where do the Phoenix Suns go from here? What can Booker, Ayton, what could these young guys do now? What's going to happen for them now? What do you think?
When it comes to the Phoenix Suns, what I need for them to do is just regroup. This is not a thing of breaking up, nothing. It's just you guys got exposed where it hurt, and you guys had to own up to it, especially in the biggest state of you guys' career, which is the finals. I can understand the team is young. The only person that went to the NBA finals was Jay Crowder. His was last year, and he didn't do too much good last year. But this year, I just felt like, especially, I'm going to go down from each player. First of all, for Devin Booker, work on your defense. That's a big part of your whole thing. Work on your defense and your emotions. Because when you go off of emotions, when you're not getting calls and other things that's like that, you affect your team in a terrible way. And you've seen it in this series thereon. It'll be times that he doesn't get a call on one end, then he'll go and foul, and then the Bucks are in the bonus. He fouls a person that's like Chris Middleton. He's 80% from the free throw line, and he knocks it down. So I need him to just find his poise and then just grow from this moment right here. When it comes to Chris Paul, I know this was your year and everything else that's like that, but you can see certain sparks in this series where it showed his age when it came to his 36 and everything else. But to be honest, he can get to that spot again. And you might think that, this road is a huge block and it's his only chance. But for him to get to his next moment, he cannot held this over his head too long. Because if he does, then you're not going to get back to that thing. You have to keep encouraging these young guys. They've been to this tough road with you, and you guys got to get out. Especially for Monte Williams, you learned from this. When it came to not building that wall for Giannis, you learned from this. And when it came to being outcoached, you learned from this. And then it builds from your team, and you guys went through this. And I feel like when they stay together and they can actually do better things as the years goes on.
What I don't understand about that the whole series and their game plan, they come out 2-0. They come out swinging that way. And then they come out in game 5, I believe, and they scored they were like 73% from the field in game 5 in the first quarter, and they just went cold. They just went away. I don't understand how even last night, Middleton and Jrue Holiday were, I think, 6 of 20, if I'm not mistaken, and they let Giannis have his way. If you see the other guys, okay, they're not doing well. Build a wall. That's what we've seen. What Toronto did when Kawhi was there with him. We've seen a lot of teams. Okay, just build the wall, just shoot, and that's why for me, I'm still kind of like question mark about Milwaukee and about Giannis, even though he played sensational last night. But it's like, can you shoot? Because now, okay, these people are gonna let's just build a wall. These other guys that we don't think they can consistently shoot. But back to Phoenix, I think for Chris Paul, we're gonna get into him now. For Chris Paul, like, it's gonna be very difficult for him to come back and go to the finals the way he did. He was fortunate to seeing the other teams that they played. They had big injuries. AD, Jamal Murray, and Kawhi. So it's going to be, those guys are probably going to be coming back. Except I think Kawhi he had his surgery, so it'll be a long time for him. But those guys are going to come back, and then you never know who could join who and different things like that, and what teams could be unknown that come out of the West. So let's start with you, Edward. Where does Chris Paul go from here? Does he retire? Does he stay with the Suns, or does he go somewhere else?
Chris Paul, he could very well be this generation's Charles Barkley, the guy that everybody loves, just doesn't have a title. You know what I mean? Like, he's a good player, solid player. You always remember him. You always remember, how good he was, but he just doesn't have a title. He might just be that guy. And to be honest with you, I'm kind of indifferent to him. I never thought he was a tremendous point guard. I always, I'll take Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Jason Williams. I'll take a lot of guys over him. But he's a good guy. He's a serviceable dude. He's a good point guard. But he could go to another team. But I don't think he's that difference maker. He wasn't that difference maker even when he was in Georgia Tech. We would have to see him all the time playing Duke, and wasn't he was amazing against everybody else, but in big games he wasn't really that guy. So maybe that's his lot in life. Some people don't shine in big moments. You can't really can't fault them for it. So.
And I think I will say I think Chris Paul, he's a great leader. Especially how he put this Suns team together and how he got these young guys around him. But I feel that for him, I think when it comes to Chris Paul, we've seen it time and time again. Of course, I quote Skip Bayless on this when he said that he's never seen a player look so old and so young in one series. So there's been so many, like, he had spurts of like, wow, this Chris Paul, he's automatic, he can create his own shot. Then it's like he's turning the ball over, he's stumbling, he's doing different things like that. So that's why I don't want him to retire. I don't want him to retire at all. But it's like, will we get this Chris Paul that is automatic? Like, where is he at right now? But like you said before, Jeremiah, Devin Booker has to work on his defense. Like, I'm glad you said that, because I feel that, when they compared him to Kobe, I was like, okay, like, we can't do that. Like, you're putting a big target on his back, even though he's a great scorer. There's similar games, very similar, but it's like he's not Kobe-esque. He's not nowhere.
What happened once they started making that comparison? He dropped off the face of the planet.
Yeah, he did, and I feel that. Yeah, and it's like, you can't do that to a player. You have to see what a player is going to do. Wait till the finals is over to say, hey, this is what this guy is. But could he potentially, maybe, I don't know. But it's like Devin Booker has to be more consistent, because he had a terrible game. I don't think he had a good game at all last night. He needs to work on his defense. But for Chris Paul, I wouldn't mind Chris Paul staying with the Suns, even though I would love to see him with LeBron. I think they need a veteran point guard for sure. But for Chris Paul, I would love for him to stay in Phoenix, because those young guys really admire him and look up to him. And I think that'll be really good, but I don't see them going back to the finals, unfortunately. But so what teams in the West, and I'll start with you, Sonny, what teams in the West do you feel that could potentially go like past that? What do you think?
Yeah, because I definitely don't see Phoenix coming back to the finals again. I'd be surprised if Chris Paul is there next year.
Yeah.
But the Lakers, because I know there's even talk today about them trading for Westbrook.
Yeah.
To come over. So if they get somebody like Westbrook, who is an alpha, and LeBron can play his game whenever he wants to step it up, he can. But him and AD dominate all the time. I think that would be a tough. That would be a tough out. It'd be tough to beat. Denver. Remember, Murray was hurt this year in the playoffs.
Yep.
They didn't have him, so I thought that was a big loss for them because I actually expected them to come out of the West. Clippers. Even though Paul George looked like he might want to step up in the playoffs this year. So if Kawhi comes back, they're always an opportunity. So I think between those three teams, really I don't see Portland, but it'd be interesting if find out where Dame Lillard ends up. But if he stays at Portland, I don't see them coming out of the West. So I would say that the Lakers, Denver, and the Clippers will probably be the top three possibilities coming out of the West. But Chris Paul, he's not. The Suns aren't coming out of the West next year. No way.
Yeah, I agree. But congrats to the Milwaukee Bucks. And congrats to Giannis for playing sensational. I do think now that he is a top 5 now in this league currently. I do think so. But that wraps up tonight's show, you guys. Thank you so much for being involved here, guys. Thank you so much to the guests. Edward, it's always a pleasure. Sonny, it's a pleasure. Jeremiah, it's always a pleasure.
Absolutely.
Thank you guys so much for coming in and giving your insight and your reactions to this game. Thank you, the audience, for tuning in and just being supportive. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, Jay, for producing and putting this stuff together. Thank you guys so much, and see you next time here on Jasmine's First Impression Sports Talk.
Okay.